Hello and welcome to another episode of Commander Fodder. So in this episode we're going to be utilising the rares that we pulled in the episode of Deck Durdle for Urza's Legacy. So this is an Urza's Legacy Commander Fodder. So there were 6 rares. For in the case of one, we actually pulled multiple copies. Now, one thing I'll just to flag up here with the episodes of of Commander Fodder, which are based on the card pool for a Deck Durdle episode, I will be, if I happen to pull a legend, I will always go for that, make a beeline for that at the expense of everything else. If I don't pull a legend, then I'll just play or pick the most appropriate card or the most appropriate rare, and again, as I've been doing in previous episodes, as you've seen, preceding the deck so it works well with the Architect card suggestion tool, to sort of push the card suggestions towards that particular card. In the case where I pull a legend, then obviously I'm going to precede the deck to push towards synergy with that commander. But in both cases, I'll obviously play other cards which I think fit in with the colour identity or the theme that I'm pursuing, So additionally to instating Multani Maro-Sorcerer as our commander, which is 4 and 2 green, and it gets its power and toughness from the total number of cards in all players' hands, I'm going to quickly look to the other cards that I pulled in the previous episode of the Deck Durdle and see what I can include. I'm definitely going to include Iron Maiden because it has an interesting interaction with how it works is obviously we want to play cards that are going to have lots of card draw. So I'm going to start preceding that, and I'll flag up the cards I'm going to use for that, because we want obviously Multani's power and toughness to be super high. As we're doing that and we're giving people loads of card draw and it's party time, we might want to punish them in some way. So one way to do that is the Iron Maiden that we pulled. So with Iron Maiden, it's 3 to cast artifact, so it'll go in the deck. And during each of your opponent's upkeeps, Iron Maiden deals 1 damage to that player for each card more than 4 in his or her hand. Now this, it depends a lot on what the other players are playing and how well stocked their hands are as to how fully you can leverage this. But certainly I'm going to include this in the deck. So what we'll do is we'll just take that from the sideboard and stick it in as an artifact. So now this will be considered, hopefully, by the card choosing algorithm in some capacity. Now the other that remains, there's 4, so there's 2 copies of Eviscerator. Well, I'm not going to be playing Eviscerator, even if I could play 1 copy, because you can't play more than 1 copy in Commander anyway. But it's not on colour, so that's not going to happen. Same with Impending Disaster. We only actually have 1 copy of that, but it's red, so we can't play that. Won't be playing Defense Grid. It's 2 to cast. During each player's turn, spells played by another player cost an additional 3. I don't know whether it's going to work that well in this deck, so we certainly won't be including any of those cards. Now you'll notice down here I always do a little bit of prep because it takes quite a while to hunt out certain cards to precede the deck, because obviously I have to do that manually. So I tend to have these ready and then drag them in, just so you can see what I'm dragging in. It's a lot easier. So obviously what I want to do is make sure that I'm giving everybody loads of cards, so it works with Multani. So the sort of things that are going to go in here are things like Howling Mine. So I want to get that in here. At the beginning of each player's draw step, if Howling Mine is untapped, that player draws an additional card. I might want to find ways of maybe switching that off if I want to. So maybe I need some cards in here that will tap artifacts down, which might be quite handy. They could do double duty actually. Also in here, you'll see I'd already put in here, because I also put in some arbitrary basics just to start off with. So we're playing a mono green deck, so I've got a load of forests from that particular block. In addition, I've also preceded this with Mikakora, because of this ability here. Reliquary Tower, because I don't want to have a minimum hand size. If I'm drawing loads of cards, I don't really want to be discarding them when they exceed the sorry, you have no, did I say minimum? I mean, you have no maximum hand size. I don't want to exceed the standard maximum hand size of 7 cards. Then also I figured, well, seeing as I'm playing Urza's Legacy, I might as well include the mono green cycling land from the block, and while I'm at it, the other cycling land. It's not in the same block, but it's a slightly further on time period around Magic's history, so I thought I might as well include both of the on green cycling lands, as it's a mono green deck. Another artifact that we could include here is Font of Mythos. At the beginning of each player's upkeep draw step, that player draws 2 additional cards. So yeah, we're going for just preceding this with a bias towards card draw. Beast Whisperer, whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card. Why not? So also I'm looking for, you know, creatures that when they come into play have card draw on them. So I'm just going to include Beast Whisperer for the moment. That was from Guilds of Ravnica originally, and we'll just pop that into. Well, you notice what I'm doing now as well a lot is I'm not changing the artwork on these. I found that it tended to work against me with the suggestion tool, so I'm going to leave the default artwork and then maybe change it towards the end, because that way it doesn't end up suggesting a second version of the card, which you'll often do if I change the artwork when I come to use the suggestion tool. So I'll leave this for the moment. So we've got Planeswalker in here as well. I'm going to precede it with, you can see this will be pretty useful in this deck, particularly when the power on this starts to get rather large. So what we're going to find, I think, with this deck is the synergies are just going to go through the roof with some things. Like you just get stuff that will the more things out you get, the more it will synergize and you'll reach a sort of critical mass where things will get pretty crazy, I imagine. So now I thought I'd also include, just for the sake of the themes, a few namesake cards maybe. So we've got Multani's Decree, destroy all enchantments. You gain 2 life for each enchantment destroyed this way. Might as well have a way of destroying enchantments. And that's at sorcery speed. And this might be a thing that I might do going forward, is if I'm playing a particular commander and there's certain namesake cards, I may include those. Even though they might not be directly themed with the commander, if they do something useful, then there's no harm in putting them in. This enchants creature has tap, add 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool. And Multani's Presence, whenever a spell you play is countered, draw a card. So why not? Do we have any enchantments here? Not yet. Let me just save that. Okay, Nylea, God of the Hunt, indestructible as long as your devotion to green is less than 5. Other creature you control have trample. 3 in a green, target creature is +2/+2 until end of turn. So I figured we're playing green, mono green, so let's stick in a god, and that'll give us trample over on. Hopefully, we're going to have other cards in here that are going to, get larger as well. But it's obviously going to be helpful to our friend Multani's power and toughness. This additional ability down here, target creature is +2/+2 until end of turn. Might help us out if Multani is in danger of dying because of a lack of cards in hand. Although I imagine that's rather tricky. Let's just pop that in as a creature for the moment. Okay, so what else we got? Well, Rancor actually comes from the block. Actually comes from the set, I think. Yeah, Urza's Legacy. And I did actually pull one in my card pool. It's not a rare, so I don't normally necessarily consider those. But I thought it'd be fun to just have this in the deck. It just keeps coming back if it gets zapped. So why not? Rites of Flourishing, another card draw enchantment. At the beginning of each player's draw step, that player draws an additional card. Each player may play an additional land on each of their turns. And we have Temple Bell. 3 to cast, tap, each player draws a card. And also we've got Eva, Nature's Herald, 2 and 2 green, legendary creature, elf shaman with flash. You may cast green creature spells as though they had flash. Okay, so that's my deck as seeded as I want it to be at this moment. Obviously I could add a ton more card draw in here, but let's just see, working with this, what we might get when we start to do this. I mean, additional cards I'm thinking of which may play more to the power toughness thing is things like, Overwhelming Stampede, and also when you're playing around power and toughness, it's quite nice to have trample. And there's those cards like Brawn, which are real, I think, real old school commander cards. They're that group of cards that, if it's in the graveyard, so it's a creature, I think Incarnation, when it's in the graveyard and you control a forest, creatures you control have trample. There may be also additional cards that I want to put in here that mean that my hand can stay stocked and I'm not discarding. Things like Thought Vessel, that sort of stuff. But anyway, let's look at the Rex on here. Again, we'll go for the straight Architect one. Okay, so, well, what deck is not complete without Sol Ring? And you can see, like I said, this is why I'm not modifying the artwork or the set at the moment for the cards, because it's more likely to tell me that I've already got those cards present. Didn't do it with Howling Mine because I think I changed the artwork on that one, but I know I've got Howling Mine in there. Whenever a player plays a land, that player draws a card. Oh, wow. Oh, there's Thought Vessel. Oh yeah, this, I forgot about this. Psychosis Crawler. Power and toughness are equal to the number of cards in your hand. Okay. Whenever you draw a card. Okay, yeah. So that's good. We already got Iron Maiden. And got things like Venser's Journal. So I think what I'm going to do is just make sure at this point we don't get punished for having, for having to discard stuff. So let me just, I did include Thought Vessel. Skip your discard phase whenever. Okay, yeah, I do like Library of Leng. There is Spellbook. I'm just going to hold back on too many of those cards. Right. Okay. We have a ton of artifacts in here. We can always take them out. So sorcery. Well, let's look at some creatures first. Let's run quite a few creatures in here, both support and ones that are gonna buff in some way. So let's just see what it suggests. So we've already got a Nylea. Okay. Yeah, there's Brawn. Most of these are more utility cards, so I'm just going to skip over them until I start to get stuff that might be more relevant to buffing power or toughness, or playing around with, or benefiting from cards in hand. I quite like that, seeing as we're playing green. I could play some Mana Dorks, obviously, seeing as I'm in green, and there's obviously going to be some green acceleration. Oh yeah, that's cool. God, we're going to have so many cards. Let's just see if there's anything here that gets buffed by all the cards in my hand. There was a recent let's put Sakari Tribe Elder in there. Although, yeah, I wonder if I'm better off having cards that put them in my hand. That's what I really want to do. I'll leave that for the moment. Your graveyard. So I'm just scanning down these at the moment before I make some choices. Go. I just do like Steel Hellkite. It's not really on theme for the deck, but it's just an interesting inclusion as a powerful card. Interesting the suggestions that are coming up here. Just put that in. That's more to do with the amount of forests I'm going to have in hand. I'm sorry, in play. Okay, things are going a bit crazy with the card draw. Hang on. Draw your second card each turn. Create a 2/2 crack creature token. 4 and 2 green until the end of turn. Creatures you control. Number of cards. Yeah. Okay. We definitely want that in the deck. So it doesn't look like it's an interesting commander because I don't know if there's a ton of creatures that definitely care about that. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I need to bring up there we go, MTG assist. I just want to see what this finds as cards similar to Multani. That's better. Werewolf of Ancient Hunger. Seeing as that's the theme we're going with this. Okay. Be easy to do that. Oh, is it? That's a double size. That's why I'm not seeing it. Sage Ancient Lord's power and toughness. Each cards in your hand. Draw a card again. Spells will cost his turn. Transform. Okay. Let me add that in. Save that. Cool. Okay. Already got that. Masumaru. So there's a lot of stuff that's obviously in green that's number of forests you control, which we did see those. I just want to make sure I haven't missed any that are power and toughness equal to the number of cards in hand. Masumaru. MASU. Yes, please. Okay. So we have got Beast Whisperer already in here. As we're in green, and I'm just going to include a utility creature here. I'm going to put an acidic slime in. And I'm going to put Karametra's Acolyte. So tap add a green, devotion to green. So we'll go for that. And I suppose, seeing as we're in green, we better put in our old friend, Llanowar Elf. Llanowar Elves. Now, did I put in Heartwood Storyteller? No. What's the avatar? Is that just the... I don't know what that is. Strange. Okay, let's look at some more recommendations. I mean, we could do this. Just see what it comes back with. Preferred its control may draw a card. Yeah, it's sort of coming up with the usual suspects for green. Actually, if I'm got ton of card draw, that would be really useful. Let's just see. Just going to fire this, just in case it needs a refresh to do that. We're going to have reclamation shade in there just to spot removal artifacts or enchantments. I could put a number of green utility creatures in here. Let's put Goreclaw in there. Interesting. Yeah. Wow. interesting stuff keeps coming up. See, this is interesting because if you've got opponents that are drawing cards, they're going to be discarding if they exceed if they don't have cards in play that allow them to let their hand size go above 7. So that means that there could be a ton of stuff going into the graveyard. So maybe I should play a Scavenging Ooze. And if I'm also having to discard cards, I wonder if that would be smart protection. So what are my enchantments looking like? Let me see what I can play that might buff this all up a bit. I wouldn't mind playing some equipment actually. Actually, let's do that first. I could equip up my commander and various other things. What sort of stuff is it suggesting? Oh, hang on. Ooh. Yeah. Okay, that's both enchantment and an artifact. I just want to play Steel Hellkite. Yeah. It's pretty annoying. Creature dies, you may put. Okay. Death Render. On Defender. You've got to be careful here. Oh, Grim Monolith, that was in that was that's the most expensive card in Urza's Legacy. Seeing as I'm playing green, I suppose I should play that. Each opponent controls more creatures than you can't play. Just not seeing any equipment. Okay, let's go over to enchantments. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, if it does not have the same name as another creature you control, draw a card. Yeah. Whenever a creature dies, that creature's controller will make draw a card. Oh dear. These. Oh yeah, that's what I was looking for. That's more like it. Start putting those into play. Okay. So, let us see. Let's have a look at another Planeswalker. Looks interesting. Go with double Garruk. I missed that one. This is why it's always good to do a second pass. Right. So we need some spot removal. We got 13 cards we can still add. Let's have a look. See what. Obviously there's some classic green instants and sorceries that we still haven't even got in here, which we might want to play. Okay, Krosan Grip. Okay, that's going to be interesting. Good old fog. Interesting. So good old naturalize, obviously. Could have a scar from existence. I just want to deal with anything. It's quite a high cost, but we're in green. We can deal with flyers. We don't have any flying creatures, so and spot removal, instant speed. So let us look at sorcery speed shenanigans. That was the one. Overwhelming Stampede. I don't think that's in there at the moment. Cultivate. Kodama's Reach. Yes, please. Now, is there any sorcery speed thing that's going to generate a ton of tokens which are dependent on hand size? Oh, overrun. And rampant growth. Oh, that looks like fun. Yeah. Oh, we're there. I don't know if I want to play more equipment. Well, the deck's super clunky in some respects. That just gives us the option to, you know, maybe spit out a creature instead of drawing a card, even though we would want to draw cards. We might reach a point where that might be more useful, that's all. Ah, that was it. People are probably screaming at the screen when I was trying to think of a... I knew that to be one. Let's take out... Just sideboard that for the moment. I've got so much card draw artifacts, which I could probably take out some of that as well if I find something else or think of something else. I mean, there's why I can ramp up the card draw. So I can play things like Mind's Eye to get things even more out of control. Whenever an opponent draws a card, you may pay 1 if you do draw a card. It's like, how much card draw do you want? So we're just in extra time now, really. This is just other ideas that we could put in the deck. I mean, there's other, you know, artifact type stuff. Did we put in... Oh, we did, yeah. And we did include... Yeah, you can include things like Emerald Medallion to reduce your the cost of casting spells, and put a spell book in. All that sort of stuff. And other things like... things like the Great Henge. Be on the pricey side. And other stuff like a Chroma's Memorial, you know, they give creatures flying, first strike, vigilant. Was it protection with black and red? Actually, that would be a really interesting card to play. I hadn't got many cards in here which sort of buff creatures across the board. There's, you know, various cards that will you know, add +1/+1 for, you know, across all your creatures, those sort of things as well. So that might be some other cards to think about. There's various enchantments and other creatures from Magic's history. I'm sure that will do that. I'm trying to think of that. There's a card in each colour, and or one of them in each colour. It's a creature, and I think it adds a certain amount of power and toughness based on the other creatures that you play in that colour. So yeah, my mind's gone blank at the moment, but I think there was a cycle of 5 of them in a core set at some point. That's the sort of cards that I'm thinking of. If you wanted to just buff your green creatures across the board, might be something that you can do. And then again, there's various other enchantments, like things like exploration for being able to play additional lands as well, which we haven't even begun to include in this deck. Stuff like Primal Rage, which gives all creatures trample. And again, there's a whole load of other cards that interact with power, and because they're a certain power, they'll give you additional toughness. Sorry, give you additional card draw when you put stuff into play. We did put Wolfcaller's Howling here, I'm pretty sure, because that's an interesting card. If we haven't, I thought we had. Maybe we didn't, because that really does belong in here. Oh yeah, we did put it in. Just I can't find it. Oh, it's because I'm looking in the wrong column. Silly me. Yeah, there it is. It's an enchantment. So yeah, I think I'm going to stop there on this particular deck. There's a whole load of cards came up here, which I've never been aware of. I'm trying to remember when this was first. Yeah, that was it. Mirage. There we go. Okay, and I think we're done on the deck. We have that. We have our 100 cards, and what I'll do, if I haven't mentioned already, is I'll actually let me do this now. I'll export this out, and I'll make sure there's a copy of this in the description. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye for now.